Much like Johnny Depp, who took on daring and strange roles to shake an image of himself he didn't like, only to become one of the most successful Hollywood actors of all time, it feels like Tim Burton was cast in the same iron. They're both now extremely wealthy and extremely good at making money, and they both come from actual genuine artist backgrounds who made bold, against-the-grain choices to now feeling like puppets to the Hollywood machine. It's not to say that Tim Burton is a hollow shell making movies for the studio. I think that he did put his heart into Dumbo, and he really connected with the story, but it failed more because of modern filmmaking than it did anything else. I think as well there is something to be said about the death of the mid-budget movie, which if you haven't heard of before, I highly suggest looking into it. Maybe I'll make a video about that too.